Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call to order reinvestment zone number 16, City of Houston. And the first order of business is to approve the minutes for the September 25th, 2019 meeting, which is the red tab labeled TIRZ.
I was here and I approved it. Because I just had a thought, should you approve the minutes if you weren't, if you
I
weren't?
think the rules, Robert Rule of Order say you shouldn't. You should be there.
Okay, well, anyway, I was here and I approved it.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay. The
Motion
motion carries. I'd now like to suspend the reinvestment zone number 16 meeting and call the Board of the Uptown Development Authority meeting. And again, the first item of business is to approve the minutes of the September 25th meeting, which is tab 1, page 1 of the UDA green tab.
Approve the minutes as,
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. Meeting carries. Does not the meeting, rather the motion carries. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Is anyone from the public here? Next item, number 3, is to approve invoices. That's tab 2, page 5, and Shannon, I think you first coordinated the office with that, please.
Okay, thank you. Page 5, we start our summary of invoices that we're submitting for board approval today. For HSID reimbursements, a total of about a little over $140,000. Also to the district for the professional services for the POB project, roughly $169,000. Page 6, we continue with those contracts held directly with the UDA in the amount of just over $474,000. A total of $784,000 for all of those invoices submitted. Then we have construction projects or pay applications to the tune of $2.17 million. All totals of $2.962 million being submitted for approval of payment or notification that we've paid contractors already for those construction projects.
Does anyone have any questions?
I move we approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
The motion passes. Shannon, the next item is for you also, which is the MWDE report. That's tab 2, page 11.
Page 11 starts the DBE, and just FYI, pages 7 through 10, it's just a little bit more information on those invoices that you approved. On page 11, we present for the month our DBE report. Our professional goal for professional services is 24%, whereas construction is 17%. The top half of page 11 kind of lists cumulative to date from inception to September. We're at 39% for professional services and 22% for construction. This current fiscal year to date, we're at 63% for professional services and 17% for construction. Pages 12 through 14 kind of gives you those primes and subs that make up those goals. Page 15 is the graph for our professional services. You can see we are well above that 24% goal. Page 16 is further breakdown for the professional services and how they break out between the W and the DBE categories. Just more information. Page 17 starts the detail for what comprises our construction goal for the current fiscal year to date. You can see the primes and the subs and what we paid year to date. And then lastly, page 19 is just a graphical depiction of how we go month to month for that goal. Are there questions or concerns?
Okay, if there are none, do I have a motion to, well, actually, do we?
Thank you.
We just need to note that we've received the report, we don't have to approve it. Okay, the next item is to review bids and consider authorizing the staff to award, negotiate, and execute a contract for construction manager risk for the Memorial Park Central Connector. And including initial notice to proceed for pre-construction services. And John, you're the first person on the list for that.
Well, you want to do any intro, given your experience, or you want to wait till the end?
I'll wait for the end.
Okay, all right. Andrew, I think you're going to do the presentation here, but I will say that what we have, that we bring for you today is the culmination of a lot of work and a really encouraging partnership between the Uptown TIRZ, the Kinder Foundation, and the Memorial Park Conservancy. We really have worked together as a team, and that Randy Ognay has been the day-to-day Memorial Park Conservancy. He's not here today. I thought he might make it. Sarah Newberry has been involved from the foundation, and Andrew Jerrig has led our efforts, and he has been supported by Steve Dunn. Steve is the guy who has helped keep this together and moving forward. But through a very long and involved engineering and design process that is both sensitive to the park and the environment, but yet building a very significant physical facility, very much a civil construction project. We've gone through and have, I think, produced a great program. Today, Andrew's going to present to you that process where we are, how we've gone about seeking a construction manager, a general contractor for this project. And it has been thorough, it has been open, and it has, I think, produced a very defendable recommendation to the board. I will say that I'm going to hit you with this now, and I'll do it again. Andrew did it during the presentation, then I'll hit you again. We're going to ask you today to award a contract not to exceed $54 million for the construction of the Memorial Parkland Bridge project. In that process, we ask you to award that today, but the only authorization for expenditures that you actually give us is going to be for $20,000 for services that the selected general contractor will provide, and to the point through bidding. They will then help us bid that, and we will bring those bids in, and then we will be able to negotiate from those bids with the team we select today, that you select today, basically a maximum, what is MP?
Guaranteed maximum.
Guaranteed maximum price contract. And so you're going to get today an opportunity to express an opinion. You'll authorize us to work. We will then bid it, and you will then give us authorization to go forward. So you have multiple opportunities to review and to make those decisions. But this is the day basically that we move toward implementation of this project.
So today we're awarding the GC.
We're going to award, you want to call it, it's a general contractor, construction management,
Yeah.
general contractor.
You've
And we
already
will
approved
ultimately,
Yes.
and we will eventually, by the time we get all the subcontractors' bids in, put it all together, we'll have a guaranteed max price that this board will approve at
Okay, so
that
the
time.
GC then did not put teams together to present
Not
in
at this
the
time.
initial, okay,
Right.
got it. That's
And,
what
and the
my confusion was.
sub-consultants will be pre-approved, et cetera, so we'll get good teams, et cetera.
Okay.
We'll actually work through the entire process
Yeah.
with the CM or GC at risk
Mhm,
and develop the cost, everything
mhm.
bracketed. We've got Goonda on the team, and we'll bring it all down until it's,
So you will
Massage
have
the
multiple bites at approval.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, stepping off into a $54 million award, there's a little comfort in that, is that it is a step, multiple step process. I'm going to shut up and let Andrew
What's our-
take you through.
I think we've shown this picture before, right?
Yeah, you may have seen.
So they say begin with the end in mind, so 3 years from now, Steve, this is where we hope, or we will be. So we've got a new prairie, so we're looking from the golf course towards Uptown. New golf course, by the way, opening on Tuesday, or Monday. We've got 2 land bridges. This one's 450 feet across approximately, this one's 300, so that's a football field. This is a football field and a half. We've got a new Memorial Drive, a new area to play in, new native prairie, and new, all types of new features.
So we're
Walking.
looking south,
We're looking
west?
south.
You're looking southwest, yeah.
how in the world did you do that? Computers, huh?
Beautiful. Artist rendition.
It's
The
amazing.
computers have fun.
Yeah.
So a quick agenda, construction manager, risk, procurement. We'll talk about the budget just shortly, and then we'll talk about NWDBE items. So the process for the CMAR, if you don't mind me using the abbreviation, and forgive me if I sound like I got a little hoarse in me, but we started back in July with an industry day, and we've worked through the process, like John was saying, open, transparent. We had Tellefson back in the summer helping us put together the cost. We terminated Tellefson in September early, and the RFPs went out September 16th. So since the RFPs have gone out, we've had pre-proposal meetings, we've had Q&A with the contractors. Proposals were received about 3 weeks ago on the 18th, and we have evaluated. We had 11 general contractors pick up the RFP. We had 6 proposed. We had 5 not proposed. The McCarthy Builders proposal came in late, so we deemed it not responsive. Any questions on that?
It was also incomplete.
Incomplete.
The reason for the termination of the Tellefson contract was simply because they had finished with the scope,
That's
correct?
right. And for fairness too, we didn't
Just
want them
important
involved in
to,
the RFP.
yeah,
Right.
just important to clarify.
The process scoring, the statements of quals, we gave 40% to the financials, 40% to presentations and interviews, 20% to, and then the evaluation committee, wanted to note there's Lisa Johnson with the city of Houston. So we had 4 folks evaluating and selecting. Steve Down actually ran to keep things rolling, ran the meetings. So we did the statements of qualification. Tellefson, Spyglass, 5 companies came in nicely, kind of at the upper tier. Weber and Forefront a little lower. So we thought, well, we've got a really good tight group here. We opened the financials. So the financials, Tellefson came in $2.2 million below its next competitor. So we had predetermined the point before the RFP went out. So Tellefson received 35 points, and then everyone else, not very, not as many.
But I think everybody, I just point out that the scoring, was very close, and you maybe sometimes get a little nervous about making a decision based on a half a point or a point.
Right.
But we don't have that problem this time because the Tellefson, not only did they score in terms of the capability side ahead, their actual price is so much lower that it's pretty clear what the decision should be in terms of.
Do we have to take the lowest cost provider,
We do.
Yes.
We take the best
Huh?
values, best value,
best value?
yes.
Most of the time, that is the low.
So there's a little subjective in there when you say best value on this.
The
Well, that's
interesting,
This is the lowest number, I mean, so there's no question here.
would you back that up just to that previous slide? And so if I could, Louis, just add,
Yeah.
I was not part of the evaluation team, but after they had been in doing it for about 3 hours, after they all read each one of them, then got together and began tallying up their scores. And and really arguing with one another about strengths and weaknesses. I came in, and I'll have to say that I don't think any of the group would have been disappointed if any of the top three had won the project. These are good firms, and we were, and one person would like another firm's particular part, and they argued over it, and finally, and really kind of at about 12:30, worn out, they go, well, let's look at the financials. We've done what we do. They're close. We could argue about a half point, but it's close. Three really good firms. Let's see what the financials say. You turn the page, and literally, it was the slide goes up, and all of a sudden the job got a little bit easier. One, Tellefson was extremely qualified. In fact, was graded at the highest, but I would say all three of those were highly qualified. And then the point was they came in at the lowest cost. That made us, one of the things you want to do is say, are you sure? Did you make any mistakes? We could find no mistakes in what they did. And then I'll tell you that Steve Don talked to them, and their response was, we know exactly what our bid was, and we stick to it. So I think the point that I would make on this is that they were well informed about what the project was. I think we had excellent meetings with all of these firms, but I think Tellefson wanted it. It was a signature project, and you know, sometimes when you bid a project, you say how much is going to be overhead and how much is going to be directly billed. And I think what they said was, we're going to go after this. For example, in the details of this, a lot of the firms charge as much as $500,000 for what we call pre-construction activities. They put in $20,000. And if you just take that time, and so I will tell you, our recommendation is that we're going to recommend that Tellefson be awarded the contract because one, they're highly qualified, and two, because we got an outstanding bid.
But you look at, I mean, we know they're financially, have good financial backing, their stability and reputation. I mean, you look at the personal financial, it's not personal, but you look at the company's financials, or.
Is that what you mean by financials? You looking at their.
Well, really, their bid was
Their
the
bid.
financial, we
The
called it
financial.
our financial criteria, so,
Yeah.
Steve or Andrew,
Well,
you two might
I wonder if
add.
you mean the stability of the company.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, I
Yeah.
have trouble talking.
They've been around for the best part of
No,
100
no,
years.
I'm very
And they're all-
familiar with them, I
Yeah.
just,
Right.
but I've never heard of three of these, never heard of them, I just was wondering.
Five companies, if we tell you who the five companies are that make up five companies in a joint venture, it was all-star Houston firms. And you just, Garver and others, I mean, it's just outstanding. Bottom line is, all of these have to be bonded. They all have to have not only fire, that they're sound financially from my point of view, but they've got to be able to go out and bond this now. This is a big project, and you got to be financially sound to be able to bond a project this large.
And this is the guarantee price.
This is the guarantee price for the construction management portion and in the fees, general conditions, etc. So that's it. And then, but the reality is, we're going to go spend just $20,000 up until next February or so, where they go through and actually working with us, put together the bid packages. And then because they're in the business, they know the firms, to go get, who handle this, et cetera. And we will, and they will be able to competitively bid on some of the elements that we're putting out to subs. So they'll submit theirs just like everybody else. They'll be brought here. Andrew and our crew will open the bids here, not Tellefson or the winner here, and then we will put that together. Then Tellefson will have to then put together the overall team, final contracts, and then that's when they'll give us a guaranteed max price for the construction part of the project.
54 million.
And that guaranteed maximum price would be this, basically this number here, plus the sum of all the subs.
That's correct.
And we approve all the subs, and as John said, we supervise the taking of the bids from the subs. And then, at that point in time, then we have a guaranteed maximum contract that has increases and decreases only because of scope issues that we discover as we're going along.
And what was their involvement on the front end again? Tell us, they helped us to,
Andrew, you
They
might.
were helping us develop the pricing for the estimates.
So here's the thing, they're construction managers, they build things. And they not only advise us on pricing, but they also on constructability. You know, one of the big questions we have, are we going cast in place or poured in place or precast? They got a lot of experience on both sides of that, in the cast in place, for example.
They
But
also ran through the entire schedule, made sure our schedule was.
so they really helped from a contractor's point of view, how we could put together the best design and the best bid package.
And I think the continuity in that cannot be overstated, because they have seen those things. And so when I look at those prices and the variations in it, it does make a difference, because they know, they've seen what it is that's going to be the construction element, right?
Yeah.
And so that's helpful.
To me, if I look at this, I think the market is probably somewhere in the high 6s to low 7s. That's kind of
Yeah.
what the market
Makes
would be. Our budget item in the project budget is 55? Was $5.5 million. So, this is basically $1 million under the engineer's estimate on this.
Now, to give you a little, to make you feel better, they're doing a project called the Water Park Eastern Glades Phase 2, and this is a real similar percentage what they're getting on that project.
Really?
Yeah, very similar.
So-
They also did work in Herman Park on the Centennial Garden and all of that, and they were very competitive and did a good job. And I do not own stock in Tillotson and haven't seen anyone there in 10 years, but nevertheless, the experience, the park experience that we had at Herman Park was very positive.
So they're having to give you a bid to manage people that they don't yet they know who it is, right?
Correct.
That's right.
If I was them, I'd be kind of sweating that a little bit, because some people are higher maintenance than others. If you're holding them back.
It's true.
Yeah, we just want them to maintain them and not.
I know, I'm gonna pick these high maintenance ones.
We'll pay you this much money, you take care of it.
It just seems a little,
I'll tell you some experience we had on the Post Oak Boulevard project. We bid the bus shelters, the stations, early on in the process, and we got this many bids. And the problem is that we don't build vertical things, we build civil things historically. And we didn't have the contacts nor the information flowing back and forth that somebody would have felt comfortable about coming in and bidding. We had, in working with John Moose on the TIRZ board, we actually used his good offices to, Robert, who did we bring in to advise us on? Anyway, a more vertical, somebody that does vertical construction. And we went in there and we got a great bid. Harvard, we got a great bid. And so I will put, now I'm gonna transfer you to Tillotson. Part of the thing is they know the trades out there. And they know how, look, there's gonna be competition, but I want you and you to give us a bid for this if you want. So I think that's the big benefit to having these guys all along, and that's what they'll bring to the table. I also think that some of the individual firms that made some of these proposers here are also gonna be some of the people who are gonna bid on the construction or the subcontract. And so the information and the effort hasn't been wasted even for them if they don't get it. They know the project very well now, and I think are really geared up to be able to go and maybe bid for what they do better than construction management.
It's just, having done some real estate development, you know, I just hate to be telling somebody, we want you to run it, but we want you to use these people over, you know, it just, it's
But we're not,
relationships.
but I agree with you, but we're not doing that. We're saying
They're in
that here's
charge,
the
so
sub,
it's
but you
their
have,
team.
they have to approve the sub. In other words,
They do get a say in that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. I
We
didn't
and
hear that part. I thought
see,
we had
we
to-
and they get it approved.
Okay.
So that,
They get a big statement in creating the pool of subs.
yeah.
Okay, good.
And then the bidding process gives you, and look, again, it'll probably be based on qualifications and on price.
And Tellefson will have someone sitting in on those interviews as well? Or those,
They will help
when they open
put
up
that
the-
together, yes, but then when we go to bid, the bids don't go to Tellefson, they come to us.
And somewhere in the process, there will be the speech to tell us, once we've chosen these subs and we've signed the contract, do not talk to us about there's a problem, that your sub did this or didn't do this. There's not gonna be any, we're not gonna have any subs, they're all Tellefson.
It's just all the numbers will be very transparent about the way you're doing it.
Well, it's a guaranteed max price.
So if we pick a hard to deal with contractor and force them, the price goes up. If we like somebody that's not easy to deal with. So
But it's,
they
we
have
know,
to-
we know going in what the price is.
That's right.
We put, that team is put together with us.
Each aspect of it, so
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. It's just different for me, but anyway,
It is different.
This is a,
makes you wonder how in the world a variance could happen.
I know.
I will throw out my good friends in 5 companies, because that is not explainable. And I think the others are in the same market, the 7.3, the 6.6, and the 7.8, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I will throw out 5 companies, because I don't understand their bid. Good, great firms, good people, just, you know. But Tellefson, I think, clearly said,
We want this.
We want
And
this.
we're gonna, and they priced for
yeah.
it.
We
Go to,
beat that
go to
one
the
to
next,
death.
yeah.
So the final points were Tellefson, of course, above 20 points over. So instead of having interviews, and wasting a lot of time with everyone in preparation and spending their money, we curtailed or postponed the interviews because they're only worth 20 points. And we went straight to Tellefson and started looking at, like John was saying, is your price for real? Are you guys ready to do this and that kind of stuff? And are you ready to execute the contract? And the contract is ready now to be executed.
Stephen, do you want to address the contract at all?
We had a really easy negotiation with them. I mean, they were reasonable. We had assistance with outside counsel, they had outside counsel, and I'm completely comfortable with the deal we had.
So where we are is that we are at a point with board authorization, we can move into a contract. It's not a contract we have to negotiate.
That's
We
right.
have a contract ready to be executed.
They're ready to sign it.
Okay, all right.
I think we just talked about
Yeah,
that.
I think that was summarized really.
So what do we do with the firms that weren't selected? We send a letter, or we call them up? Or-
We've called them. I think Steve, I'll let you just, if you'd speak.
We postponed the interviews and we told them the reason we were postponing the
Okay.
interviews. Obviously, after today, if you agree to this recommendation, we'll write letters.
But then verbal, we already communicated to all.
I-
Oh, yes, we've talked to it all four.
And Justin, I think there's 2 things I'd say that we've informed them. But they're all eager to bid on
Sure.
the construction portion of this now, and let Tellefson worry about coordination.
One last question. Were they aware of the degree of variance, or did you get into that piece of the discussion, or just?
No, I agreed a playbook that I went by for all four, and I basically said, I can't tell you the details, but after the scoring, there's a 20-point differential.
Okay, you should.
So nobody until today has seen the output, the actual score.
But, and we'd be willing to sit down and talk to any firm.
Yeah, we'll offer a debrief.
Once, yeah.
So the board actions, again, award the 54 million today, not to exceed. Authorize 20,000 of the 54,000 for us to spend over the next 5 months with Tellefson. Tellefson, again, will bid, and we'll be working with them February through April. And then come back to this board in May or June and say, and I'm sure Steve's assured me that'll be much less than 54 million with the GMP. And then, again, the project completion date is October 2022.
There's 2 points I wanted to add to this overall is that this contract has been written in such a way that if we come to a condition where this project has to be terminated, it's clear we can do that. The second part of this is that if you remember back in, I think it was April, spring of this year, we brought before this group a memorandum of understanding that both Memorial Park Conservancy and we entered into, and that was that they'll pay 57% of every invoice. We'll pay 43%, and so just wanted to kind of clean that up. So, do you got some MWB you want to address? Okay, go ahead.
We do. Just to make sure everyone remembers the budget, 54 million hard cost, 10.8 for the soft cost with Gunda and the design teams, owners PM contingency 5.6. I think we calculated that out before. Right now it's around 8 million of contingency in that neighborhood. And we'll be allocating it.
So the Memorial Park Conservancy, or whatever they're called, they have to approve this as well?
I don't
Did you
know.
say,
We already had a memorandum of understanding.
We do.
Steve, or Andrew, did the Memorial Park Conservancy Board take any action on this?
They were supposed to do that today. I haven't
Yeah,
heard.
that meeting was this morning, so.
That is just to approve this?
Correct.
Well, and Kinder has to approve it, and the city has to approve
Ultimately, yes.
it. Yes.
So the breakdown's 40.4 million to MPC and 30 to UDA. That's the breakdown.
So all of the parties that have to approve will approve every step along the way as we do? So technically, we can go ahead and award this, but then it has to go in front of Kinder and then city council, I would imagine, so.
No city council.
No city council, just, okay.
The Kinder one will be more of an internal.
That's right.
For them. The Memorial Park, probably a little more formal.
Yes.
are you the one presenting? Who knows as much as you do?
Randy
Oh.
and Sarah, they know more as much.
So, what approval does the city has do of the contract itself?
Nothing.
It's the plans they have to do.
Yes.
And we've submitted the 100% DD plans into the city
Yeah, I went to the Public Works.
yesterday.
Yes, but, you know, as John said in his introduction, this is a really complicated project, and it's continuing to be designed while we're doing all these other things, and the four parties, we, the Conservancy, the Kinders, and the city, have gotten along, I think, remarkably well, and it's been an efficient, worthwhile endeavor, and I think we should all be, thank our lucky stars that it's been that way. We have to give credit to people, you know, who've been involved in this process, that so far so good.
Right. That's why I was thinking, you need to be going to all those other meetings, present. I mean, you're so that's presenting.
We meet every week.
It's almost,
Okay.
they almost speak the same,
Good.
because this process has been a very long design process where they've gone through the arguing, the intense professional discussion of issues, design issues. They've addressed problems and they've worked through them. And this is a remarkable, Lewis is kind, but it really has been good to corporation, Steve Dunn, Nelson Berg Waltz, and others. This has been a pretty solid, not a lot of static kind of design process. And everybody's pretty firm on what the objective is, what that project is, and how it's designed, from the Kinders to the Conservancy, the city, and us. So it's not without intensity, but it's pretty solid, I have to say, my experience. One of the best partnerships I've seen, Mr. Todd.
So far.
Go ahead and cover this. I think you want to hit the, I think you have a board ready to approve things, so you just want to go pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's your fiscal years. And then your MOU with NPC, and there's the breakdown, 4257 we talked about. Tri-party agreement, meet, comply, or exceed the city's MVW, we plan to exceed them. So we're gonna, 20% construction and 10% pre-construction. Tillotson's already agreed to that, and then the design work will exceed also the 24%. So our goal is to exceed all
Does
those.
this warrant any neighborhood meetings over there? Because it's really kind of interior stuff, right? They were all upset
MPC has
before.
constant
Oh.
PR meetings.
I think that there will be a point where construction starts. When construction starts, Memorial Drive will be altered, we'll maintain 2 lanes in each direction. Trees will be cut down, earth will be moved.
We'll be
It
in the
will
Chronicle.
not be,
Yeah,
it
people will
will
be
not,
bidding.
there will be consternation, and there will be misinformation, and there'll be complaints that we have to deal with and address.
Mhm.
Um,
I'll have to
This
unfriend
is-
people on Facebook.
this is, people are gonna notice that there's a significant construction project going on.
What are pre-construction services?
The bidding, the scheduling, the cost estimates, and putting together the GMP.
How did we come up with the 10% in WDE though, for that piece?
I think Steve came up with that number.
No, that's, no, I didn't. That's, City of Houston used that for CMAR projects. It's relatively a small amount of money. In this case, it's $20,000.
Right.
Total.
Total, yeah, so it's not a big.
It's 2000.
See, the total design
Oh, yeah,
services is $20,000
Okay,
and
I got
10% of that.
Right.
But that is a number that the city used on, the city uses a similar process on, say, some airport projects, and that's their procedure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And they include that, for example, just as we include, when we send out the RFPs, the city includes that when any of those projects, like the airport project goes out. So it's,
Is construction 15 plus 5?
Yes.
Okay, 20, all right. That's potentially $50 million, yeah.
10.8.
Yeah. All right. So, Mr. Chairman, staff recommends the award of the contract,
And
not to
blessing.
exceed, in an amount not to exceed $54 million to Tillotson. We ask you to also authorize issuance of work orders for pre-construction activities at $20,000, and
so it's those 2 things.
John, would you say that again? I'm sorry.
what we're asking for, can you, give me this
Awarding
slide that tells us what we got. We're gonna award a not to exceed $54 million contract to TIRZ. Okay?
That's one. And
You
the
can,
second,
and you are, then you put a period, and then you're gonna say, you may go spend $20,000. And that $20,000 will bring us to the point where we have bids, and we will come back to you with a recommendation for a guaranteed max price contract for the construction of the project. Okay?
And we will get, detail then into how that price was arrived at.
Okay, so where's the slide that showed all the breakdowns of the various companies, and you were the lowest, it was 4 point something
Yeah.
million?
4 point.
Yeah, we spend $20,000
Mhm.
up until the day we go to a guaranteed max price. And then they can charge us another $4,455,000.
Of the 54 million.
That's correct.
That's correct. What's our recommendation, Mr. Chairman?
He's reasonable.
Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
So, motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So, the record should show that we were, that authorization to go forward with the contract has been approved. The next item is an update on other projects, and that's Mr. Talby and Mr. Breeding. They can find it out if who does it. Well, I see Mr. Talby's up there. Robert?
Okay, this is going from the Northwest Transit Center south, and again, Metro is doing the reconstruction of, or the portion from the Northwest Transit Center down Post Oak Road and connecting to what TXDOT is doing. And the details of the length of it, dedicated busway is ours, and transit service operation before completion. What do you, I didn't write this.
Somebody should probably say transit center is operational before.
Let's get rid of that one. So we're up at the north end looking south. This is work on the transit center. They tore down some, they're operating on a temporary area to the east of this drawing, not that. That was the old one that they tore down. And this is construction.
Robert, how many parking spaces will be in the completed transit center?
450, I think.
450. There was two,
Approximately.
yeah, there was 250, then they built a little lot and had 200, then they tore the 250 down, so they're really gonna just go back to 450 total.
This is phase one, I think it's Paul Glass is doing it. And phase two is to bring it out and bring it down to where TXDOT is currently start their elevated section down south. Okay, this is the rendering of probably
Of the transit.
transit center. TXDOT is working on the west loop. They're working then from that Post Oak Road down to Post Oak Boulevard here, and they've got an April 2020 construction or contract completion date. They have not, or they're not willing at this point to tell us when they will allow vehicles on their structure, but it's their contractual, and they've always said they're going to meet this date. Yeah, this is where we usually do the fly-through, but this is construction of Post Oak Road, coming down the frontage, southbound frontage road over it, and then closer to Uptown, we slide over from the frontage road into the middle and dive down in between the northbound and southbound main lanes. This is looking up to the north as the busway elevated structure is coming down through the first level of the main lanes, and we're down here at the grade level of the
Taking from a
intersection.
car on Post Oak Boulevard underneath 610.
They're currently working very actively in this area, mainly on the drainage underneath and the walls that will hold up the main lanes as you're allowed to come down through it. There's another shot of the same thing. We've completed all traffic lanes, we're completed with the bus lanes. We have 10-foot now area bus lanes in front of the stations. We go to 10-6 down the bus lanes, and there were 15 traffic signals get from the north end to where we stopped work on the south end. The 15th one was done, turned operational 2 weeks ago. So we've got all 15 operating now. And when we get them operating, we pull out the wood poles, which we have. We can then groom up the areas that the wooden poles were stuck in and fill up the holes and put it in the pavers. Shot coming from north, looking south towards San Felipe. This is pretty shots.
Those lanes are 10'6".
You made damn sure of that.
Yeah, then, just to respond to that, we've had contractors go out and correct any shorting, and we've had their assurances. We've had junior staff go out and measure, and consultants, and we had senior staff go out and measure. Robert and I will be measuring before the week's up. So,
I think I might
You-
measure
we-
it.
Yeah, it seems to be the
I'll go along.
the numbers person is one and all.
That's-
Of the 14, we have 16 stations in total. 14 we're able to work on. Again, we have the south section that's under construction by Tex that we can't get in there yet to put the stations in. We have the foundations in, we have the steel structure, we have the glass done. There was a breakage. I think they were fixing the last piece of glass that was broken. The cladding that goes around the columns is going to be complete by the end of next week. We have pulled both the control wiring and the power wiring. And oh, by the way, we have all the power from the north end to Alabama from Center Point. We are currently hot for all the primary electricity for all of our lights in that area. The lighting is in, but we're making it, I'm not too sure why they say end of November, but it should be all in at this point.
I was speaking more of the lighting on the platforms.
Oh, lighting on the platforms, okay, yes, they pulled out yesterday all the, some more of the 3 different types of lights. There are 12 lights in total, three types, and 4 different areas, and they're putting those lights on the structures. And we then are completing the ramp with a brick paver, similar to what our sidewalks are, and up to a platform which will have the necessary ADA edge and granite pavers next to that. There's a side from the back, from the street side, looking towards the.
Just a couple things I want to point out here, and it's not fair, Delia and I added a few slides to Robert's presentation. So a couple things I just want to point out. Steel structure, this is cladding on the columns. So when we speak of cladding, you know what that is. And then the lighting, there's actually these little lights, and if you'll think about them, they're going to be lit, sort of letting people know that this is a station. And you'll see the glasses in both the windscreens and the roof. I'm trying to think if there's any other pieces. And there will also then be lights here at each one of the columns that will shine down on the columns at night. Inside of each of the stations, we have the sconces that will light the area for pedestrians. Down on this end, let's see if we have one more picture here.
John, sorry,
Yeah,
so the front matches to the back, right?
Yeah.
What you're showing us here, so it will be a duplicate of this.
so back
just-
up. This picture is the
Oh.
back side, and that's the front side.
Oh, okay.
Keep come this way.
But then-
Okay, now
See, but that.
go back up one. You're right. Go forward. Okay, you're actually looking in that same view as that one. You can't see because, you know, it's all foreshortened, but this is the platform area here, columns here, the lighting that we talked about. In this box, 3 things are going on. There's an air-conditioned area for Metro communications and for our communications. And then on the back side of this is actually the electrical box.
I would point out the holes on the beams on tops are for some of the Metro devices that they want to put in. They're going to have 360 cameras and some speakers.
This area right in here, where Metro's ticket vending equipment and things like that will be located. One last thing, and then you'll see off the platform is typically a transformer or a switch. You get back up. This,
I'll show you the switch. There it is. This is a transformer and or switch.
and it's the only place. There's 2 places it's the only place on the boulevard where we have both a transformer and switch. At a station, most of the time we have just the platform, but we had to have a switch at some location.
Are those gonna be painted by artists or anything, or are they gonna stay as
We
is?
hope we're gonna keep them nice and dark and blue and
Okay.
keep the graffiti off.
Yes, that's what.
I mean, dark and green, excuse me.
Okay.
Robert, go forward. One of the things I wanted to point out. These are our little, this is the 4-foot median separating the busways. These will be lining the trees. And then also during the holidays, we take those lights that are immediately in front of a station out, and we actually are going to put our our trees there. Should be interesting.
This is wrapped with black and foam around, black around foam just because it's polished stainless steel and we want all the work to be done before we.
Nothing for anybody to sit on
And
or
burn.
sleep on, but there is a, if you will, leaning rail while you're waiting on the bus to come. There'll be a communications piece here, next bus arriving, shop at Macy's, whatever.
We had some problems with the flooding on our landscaping, and we are making the repairs to it. It was damaged by the floods, and we are currently wrapping up the controls for all the pedestrian lighting that are there, and the lights are working for the pedestrian.
Here's some pictures to show this. Now, I asked Delia what this photograph has to do with the transit corridor, but that is actually the little 4-foot median. This is this is called a Pringles podocarpus. It's a yew. It's really what we're trying to do is grow a hedge in there to kind of try to encourage people not to walk through it. As you see, this is the row of trees and the median lighting there. You can see our traffic lanes over here, bus lane here.
Did we get the correct size trees planted out?
We got, we planted all the big ones, and we accepted some trees that weren't quite as large. I think
Just north of Westheimer and south, there are some that are not as big as the ones on the north end.
the medians, the 4-foot medians have a bigger tree, but the smaller ones are about a year behind. Go ahead, Rob. The lighting, that's, when we expanded the street, didn't have the ability to put sidewalks over here, and so the sidewalk is actually in the Waterwall Park, between the first 2 rows.
That looks beautiful.
It's interesting, it lights.
Anyone else?
It's interesting.
No, just me?
Lucy,
Okay, I'm just saying.
you see it at night?
Put a lot more pictures.
Only sort of from the house.
You get a chance.
Street. I'll take a look.
It's,
This is the.
hey, a
Oh,
little beauty shot here.
Oh, that needs to be put on our Instagram account.
Yeah, just
Love
can't
it.
turn around at the moment from the shop, because again, TxDOT is working south of here. They have not asked us, but we're gonna start infringing on their territory a little bit, because we think we can start working on the north end, just south of this point here, and start getting our traffic signal stuff ready before they do the pavement. They are actively working. Last weekend, they closed the depressed area of under 69, the front of the area, and they were working on the over the Hectra ramp, what structure we need to get from the bus lane to West Park Street. So they're working on what we want them to work on, but they haven't paved the area where we need to get in and start working on the last two stations. The new ramps to 59 South, completion. They promised to let us on by the end of November. We're gonna try to hold them to that promise, but we're gonna sneak on there a few weeks early and start working on it.
You think you have 90-day worth of work?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, the other good news would be that the bus lanes will be done early in that 90 days. The whole length of the bus system to West Park should be available before the end of the year, just like everybody promised.
You'll see some pictures of that following.
Okay.
So as you can see what TxDOT's doing. Southbound lanes are constructed.
They poured the elevated structure, they have to pour the retaining wall to the north and tie it into the Hidalgo connection. But we can start working, completing up through here, getting our signal in over there and over there while traffic is still being detoured around that. This is all base material ready to be poured for the northbound lanes. And then we should have room to work in the middle. Another shot of it. That's a good shot. Chick-fil-A underneath the structure, so the bus lane that comes through here, up the ramp, following the grade of the frontage road to make the connection over the toll road.
You've got a picture of that. So if you're looking at this is southbound right before you get to West Park would be, Robert showed about where that white pickup is up at the front of that line. This is actually a bridge over the Post Oak Boulevard exit of the West Park Toll Road. So this is the piece that we bridge over that gets us to the West Park intersection. So these pieces are coming together in a time that I
It's
think.
moving really fast.
Yeah.
The transit center is under construction. We've had, it's topped out.
By the way, the name is courtesy of the Board of Directors of Metro,
The lower Uptown.
Lower Uptown Transit Center.
Again, the ground level of the transit center is for our buses and local buses and automobiles that want to park there. The upper level would be for the.
Are we involved with that at all, or is that strictly?
The transit center?
Yeah.
That is,
That's ours.
Robert's building that,
Mhm.
their engine.
This is kind of blurry one.
Mhm.
Yes.
Again, this is from the T-ramp to the third level with a canopy over it. Second level here is all parking. The lower level here is for the local buses to circulate. We have a
Local
lot of
and
extra bus space.
and BRT buses.
BRTs,
Robert, could you touch Micro Center's building? Can you walk over there?
This
Okay.
is that tower.
Okay. So that area, that dirt area there will also be paved for parking, correct?
This area here by the ramp that goes to the second level is all surface parking. This is the access roadway that leads to the lower level for buses and vehicles.
And if anyone, either Metro or we or anyone else ever has the money to build a parking garage there, this site will accommodate 750 cars for things.
It's a cleaner shot.
Looking west, you can see to your right is the ramp that ties into the HLD lane. Second level is parking. And we could,
Merging these.
anytime anybody wants to go over and look, Robert could take you on a tour.
Under the canopy, there's 3 elevators and a big stairway that walks down all the way. And then you have 2 stairways on either end of the structure for emergency egress if you needed to get out.
So the whole thing has 3 elevators and 3 stairways, correct?
Yes, a grand stairway between the elevators and then 2 emergencies on the other side.
Fantastic.
7 big-ass fans over all this
Love
stuff
it.
to move
Those things
air
will cool anything down.
up and down for people who want to walk the steps. This is a metal cladding that is going on. It's the same color aimed a different way, so it looks like a different texture.
It's a wire mesh thing. It's not solid.
Again, this is the T-ramp coming off to the canopies. This is the back side of it, looking over the nursery towards the north. And that's it.
Congratulations. Spectacular.
The MEP stuff is going on, all the concrete work is done on the structure, and all the MEP is supposed to be done by the end of the year. And then we'll be testing, punch listing, and going into February.
So Lewis and I had a phone conversation. We wanted to kind of put together a list of things, status of, and I think Lewis wanted a page, and I think we've got it down to 5 pages so far. We will be sending that out, and we'll get that cleaned up a little bit with some more recent photographs. But I think I'd add to all this is that Metro has all 14 of the buses that they're going to be using on this corridor in town, currently being wrapped in the color. So they're doing their part, all the other components. So the bottom line is we have a project that has 5 basic individual projects that had all be brought together to make what is the West Loop corridor. Metro is calling BRT services Metro Rapid. It's not a bad name. And so these are the, I'll pass this around. It's not quite as beautiful as what we recommended to them. I'm going to I'll let you see this. Bottom line, here's a sort of a pretty good shot of this. Still arguing with them, we'd like to see this very much in the same vernacular as the original light rail, kind of silver and black. And it's not awful. and it's much, I think it's about as good as that we're gonna get.
And it doesn't have our Uptown logo on anywhere?
It doesn't have our Uptown logo.
Has anyone from our side measured the width of the bus?
Yes.
That's an excellent question.
8 foot.
Excellent question.
8 foot 6
We
inches.
got the specifications, we have never measured.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Not the lane, it's the bus.
Yeah, I missed your humor.
I wasn't being humorous.
Sorry.
We've had their specs, and look, there's some very interesting in the process. The Metro had no specs for BRT, and we worked with them, we actually filmed in 2014 how Metro would actually operate and how they would get close to the platforms. Now, they're a little bit nervous about doing what they decided back in 2014 right now, and that literally is, their drivers said if you'll put a stripe on the pavement, we can center our steering wheel on it and we'll be at an appropriate depth. I think Metro Operations is nervous just to see how they're, I don't think it's going to be difficult for them to keep the bus on a 10-foot-6 lane. I think you and I do that every day. The trees are high enough, the platforms are the right size. We are working with them. They spelled out what kind of communications, vending equipment, et cetera, they needed. We're funding that. They are directing the contractor on that, $3.2 million. And so things are coming together. Robert has introduced Metro and Metro's consultant that's installing the communication equipment to our contractor for our transit center. They have agreed on when you can come in, and that's on schedule. he mentioned this earlier, but one of the things that we want to bring are lights to put on the top of the platform and their poles. Well, it'd be easier to actually drive the truck up the HOV lane and pull in there and do that than it would be to go get a bigger crane. So Metro's working with us on some simple things like that. So, good cooperation. We're widening West Park a little bit so that we can have a continuous left-hand turn lane between the frontage road at the West Loop and our entrance into the transit center. It is our intent to bring before this board and before Metro's board operating agreements for the system. Our attorneys are working on that right now. It is our intent that the Uptown Development Authority owns the transit center and 100,000 square feet of the property. Metro actually owns 30,000 square feet of some of the dirt. We intend to enter into an operating agreement with them whereby they will pay us a nominal fee, but will be responsible for if commodes get plugged, don't call us. And for a period of time. That will require working with the city, with Metro, with us, and with the Federal Transit Administration. On Post Oak Boulevard, we're submitting that we'd probably do a similar structure. We very much want to control all architectural approval and control, signage, et cetera. But at some point, Metro needs to step up and be responsible for the glass and things like that over a long term. They're talking about paying us to keep them clean, and I think that we're interested in that. We'll probably lose money on that deal. We'll take what they pay us and put more to keep them clean and operating at a higher level. Their officers and our officers will be able to go onto the platform. There's certain areas of the platform, once you get to basically the ticket vending equipment, if you don't have a fare, you can't be there. So you can't sleep there if you don't have a ticket. And so things like that. Those details about the next step of operation, we're really beginning to focus our efforts. It's not simple.
I'd like to go ahead and recess the Uptown meeting and reconvene the TIRZ meeting and now adjourn it so that we can officially end it. But obviously, if anyone would like to stay and talk to John more, I would encourage you to do so. But for those who need to leave, we can also do that. So thank you very much.